Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Robin, for those very kind and prolific words. I'm not surprised to hear that from you. To the Mays family, thank you. To Terry Bailey, the new CEO of Madam Walker Building, thank you. To my dear friend and brother, Matt Stewart and Stewart & Associates, for this wonderful event. Thank you. Keep up the great work of advocacy. To my wife, Mary Alma, thank you. Father Hardin, it's so good to see you, my brother. I thank you for your leadership. And I don't care what anybody says. We value you. We love you. We love you. We will always respect you. Darnell, good to see you. Team Carson in the house. Stand up, Team Carson. Let them know who you are. Go ahead, Big Ron. Stand up. I have so many friends in here, I don't want to get in trouble and start naming people when I look into the crowd because the staff says that that's not a good idea, Mr. Mays. I understand. But, all right, little Pat, I see you. She'll remind you you forgot her. I better, good to see you now, Trustee. So good to be here with so many friends. But for me, you know, I'm very humbled to be a part of this series, the likes of Dr. Cornel West and Michael Eric Dyson and Michelle Martin, and so many other speakers. I'm like, why did you want to hear about little old André? But it is such an honor to be here. You know, when I think about this country, I think about our constant push for diversity. I think about the challenges that we face and how we can embrace those challenges. In fact, it's my diverse upbringing that was really a training ground I see now for this job. And it's the multitude of experiences across the spectrum that guide me in making the difficult decisions that come with being a member of Congress. Before I vote on legislation focused on keeping our homeland safe, we have the black law enforcement officers here, I reflect on my own experiences as a police officer with the Indiana State Excise Police and also working in Homeland Security and the Counterterrorism Unit. When I work with my staff on educational policy, I draw back from my own non-traditional educational experiences from Catholic schools to some of the most challenged classrooms in IPS. And I also draw on my wife, who's an educator. When I hear from a father whose son became mentally ill after serving our country in Iraq and committed suicide, I think about my own mother and her struggles with mental illness. When I have the chance to vote to increase funding for housing programs that service the homeless, I think of my own experiences as a child living in the Salvation Army shelter with my mother. These experiences, while challenging at the time, have proven to be a huge blessing for me. They allow me and my staff, allow us to relate to the circumstances of the people in this great district. And relatability, in my opinion, is one of the most components of being a good public servant. If you can't understand the plight of people, you can't effectively represent them. And that is one of the greatest lessons that I've learned from my teacher and dear grandmother, the late Congresswoman Julia Carson. As a kid, I watched my grandmother wheel and deal and twist arms with political figures. She was a humble woman, but she was still from Hallville. I watched her twist the arms of President Bill Clinton, the leader of the free world then, asking and demanding resources come back to her district. And after she'd get off the phone with Bill Clinton, she'd go right back to the neighborhood to help someone stay out of prison or to help someone find a job. When I think about the resilience of Congresswoman Carson, I think about the resilience, the drive, and the determination of the American people, which to this day still makes us the greatest country in the world. I think about Julia Carson and I see a woman, and I tell young women all the time, you know, you look at Julia Carson, here's a woman who social scientists would say that she would be a failure. She was a teenage mother at the age of 16, had her second child at the age of 17, and had a short-lived marriage, and was on welfare for a short period of time. And through all of that, God was ordering her steps and allowed her to go through organized labor and become a state representative, and then a state senator, and then a trustee, and finally, a member of Congress. She was a demanding, hard-nosed drill sergeant of a woman, especially when it came to me and my family. Just when I thought I studied enough, or cut the grass enough, or helped out around the house, she let me know very clearly there was still much more that needed to be done. I often described it as running a race, and right when you get to the finish line, she'd kick the finish line farther down the mark. But I hated it back then, but I absolutely adore her now for the imprint she put on my life. When I think about her pushing the finish line down farther, I think about Ben Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, founding fathers. Yes, they were imperfect, but to this day, they're pushing the finish line further and further down the line for us. And that's why we strive for constant progress in this great nation, aside from the lost decade that we've experienced under President Bush, but I'll get to that in the Q&A. For the last 230 years, we've moved our nation forward, but only after historic struggles. From the revolution that began the birth of this nation more than 2 centuries ago, to the American blood that spilled in a civil war to preserve our union and to abolish slavery, to 2 world wars that established America as the preeminent superpower, to the rise of the middle class and an industrialized economy, to a powerful and at times tragic movement to bring about civil rights. These events represent the magnitude of monumental challenges we've had to overcome as a nation. And as Robin said, I'm a history buff. But it's unfortunate because I work with some people in Congress who think that they're history buffs, but every day they try to rewrite history and hurt a president who's trying to change history. You know, every day I walk in those hallowed halls of Congress, I'm very, very humble and appreciative of the opportunity that you have given me. And thank you. I thank you. To the Dr. Kings of the world, the John Lewises of the world, the Julia Carsons of the world, I venture to say that some of you in this room are trailblazers in your own right. In fact, I know it. You help a young African American, Hoosier, for the religion some people still don't understand, represent you in Congress. My grandmother always reminded me to never forget from whence I came. I grew up on 25th Street, next to 24th Street. It's called Dodge City back there. And I can remember going to the bus stop, Carrie, seeing drug dealers and prostitutes. And I had a friend, Puerto Rican friend, who he sold some herbal remedies at the time.